Hello and welcome back to Powered Up Festival, organised and hosted by Ideas Powered. So today we are joined by three very creative Europeans from three very different areas of expertise. But the one thing that they all have in common is that they have all turned their creative passions into their careers. So they are perfectly placed to give us some top tips on how to succeed as a creative online. So let me introduce you to the panel that we've got today. So, firstly, we're joined by Laura, who is a beauty vlogger and filmmaker based in Romania. Laura's built a huge following across social media thanks to her personality and her creative approach to storytelling. Next, this is Christian Mensa, who is a Czech illustrator. He's renowned for his creative expression, whether it's through his body or through using his pencils. And last but not least, we're joined by Elizabeth Sagan, who is a Bookstagrammer, who's turned her passion for the written word into one of the most visually creative accounts on Instagram, as you can see from these pictures here. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me. Welcome to Powered Up Festival.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Great stuff. So listen, Laura, I'm going to dive straight in and start with you. So I'm interested to know a little bit more about the world of vlogging and YouTube. So recently a poll came out that said the top job that people under the age of 10 wanted to do when they grow up was to be a YouTuber. So you've built 150,000 subscribers on your channel, but how difficult is it to stand out in such a crowded market and to post creative content? How do you go about that?
I think it's very hard to stand out and to remain creative. You always have this pressure of bringing new stuff in, creating new things, being relevant for the public. What I find helpful is not to try to be someone else and try to be as authentic as possible, to try to help the public. Of course, it depends on your niche. For me, beauty, lifestyle, and all that mommy things, I try to help my community. Even if I talk about something, because beauty can be seen as very superficial. It's all about makeup, dresses, and all that stuff. But try to help. That's my thing. That's how I try to stand out. Even if I bring you something very superficial, I try to help you, try to make your day better. So I think being authentic and being true to yourself and trying to help your community is how you can really stand out.
Yes, definitely good advice. It leads nicely in, Christian, to what I wanted to speak to you about briefly. So I'm speaking to you with your dance hat on at the moment. So specifically on TikTok and Instagram Reels, there's this kind of trend at the moment for dance challenges. And what Laura mentioned about the need to be original, how difficult is it when everyone's kind of posting the same dance moves? Do you think that's harming creativity? And what are your views on that, really?
So I myself am a bit against this fast-paced content that is being created, and I haven't even posted my own reel. I just joined TikTok a week ago just to see what it is about, and after 5 minutes, I was so overwhelmed, and I just didn't know how to cope with the reality. So I think if someone wants to create something meaningful and a good quality, it's also important to give it time and to take time to let the ideas develop and not just to create even 10 seconds could be really meaningful, of course, but I think if we want to go deep in the ideas, we need to spend more time with the creation and not to even follow the moves and things we see, but even as Laura said, to try to be authentic and create something our own. So not to join the box that has already been created, but to make something new. And as I said, it could be the same 10 seconds, but the same 10 seconds could have totally different meaning and totally different message than those quick moves when people never spend time dancing, but they think they can dance. So I think first it's about to understand my body, what it can show, what it can do, and then to dance, but not vice versa.
Great. And Elizabeth, I guess that's quite similar in the bookstagramming world. So I had a look this morning, and there's 66 million posts with the hashtag Bookstagram on Instagram. So obviously this is a hugely competitive market. Would you say, as Kristia mentioned, that there's a need to really take your time and do something original in order to stand out and express your creativity?
It's always a fight between trying to put out as much content as possible to be there in the faces of the people, to make them see you, and trying to put up worthy content, content that rise up to your own expectations. In my case, of course, it's a very competitive community, but in my case, I think I am a special situation to some extent because I combined two things, my love for art and my love for books, and I tried to combine them into a product that would bring books to the general public. So I think as long as you walk in the light of your truth and you're being authentic to yourself and you lean into your passion, you can make a name for yourself in the art world.
Yeah, great advice. And I'd like to speak to all of you guys about the need. So once you've come up with your creative ideas and you're putting it out there, how important is it that you understand the need to protect and how you can protect your originality and your own creativity? So Laura, I'll start with you because I know that you've worked and collaborated with quite big brands in the past who clearly do understand the need to protect their brand and their originality. But how important is it also for us as young creators to do the same?
I think it's extremely important. As a small creative, a few years ago, I've got my content stolen by big websites. And back then, I didn't know my rights. I just got pissed, and that was it. But it's not fair for people to use your work without credit, without your approval. So what I do now with brands, first of all, I make sure that I respect everything. So I don't steal from anybody. I make my own. Every single shot is made by me. Every single photo. I don't take other people's photos from the internet. If I take something from, let's say, Pinterest, I credit because it's kind of general Pinterest. And I make sure I buy music. That's very, very important because we think that just because it's out there on the internet, on YouTube, you can use it. It's not. It's someone's work. So you have to buy. There's a lot of like website subscriptions for music that you can buy and subscribe to, and you have a whole library of music, sound effects, everything. So you can be really creative and legal at the same time and protect your work with kind of not that much money because the subscriptions are pretty okay. And when I work with brands, I make sure I put in my contracts that if they don't pay, they have no right. Until they pay you for the rights, it's your work and you can anytime take them down from their website or social platforms or anything.
Yeah, I think that's always the case, isn't it? That you kind of don't think about it too much until you've been hurt, and then you start to realize that, wow, I don't want this to happen again. So it's a cautionary tale, definitely. And Christian, I'd like to bring you in here because as an illustrator as well as a dancer, this is a huge problem, especially on Instagram with people's work being used without credit. Has it happened to you? And how would you advise people that they go about protecting their rights as a creator?
Thank you for the question, Steve. So I also myself have an experience with this. And I think with me, it has something to do with my kindness. Because when I was younger and someone would ask me for a work, for collaboration, I put my emotions first, and I was so happy. And I was just like, okay, great, here are my ideas. I can make some illustrations for free, don't worry. And then we could sort the rest. And then once it happened that I made the illustration because I was so happy that this brand approached me, and then they just took the artwork, used it on the website, and never replied on my email. So this made me think that you have to be a little bit selfish about your work, not just about the work itself, but about the initial ideas first. So I would study this topic. I would create some contracts, maybe think of some deposits before I even share my ideas, because my ideas are the gift and the whole core that makes the artwork happen. So I realized that there is value to my thinking and to what I create, and I have to be careful to protect it first and to first bring some kind of accountant self before the artist, because I need to be careful about it. In terms of dance, it's a little bit different, especially the dance I do, breaking or break dance, because there is no dictionary, there is no right to do a move. So it's more about your own feeling, and there is basically some kind of thinking that there is biting, which means copying, and there is inspiration. If I bite, it means that I watch the dancer too many times and I just try to repeat all the moves that I liked about the dancer, which is of course not right, because we are unique and we have different bodies. If it's inspiration, I maybe look at the move once and I think, oh, I like it a lot, but I will not look at it more. I will just keep in mind the idea of the move and try to do it my way, which means that I just took the essence of the move and applied it on my own body, which is called inspiration and which is accepted in dancing. So I love to apply this kind of mindset even in art, just to look at something once, just to keep it in my head, keep the feeling of it, do this with 5 or 4 different artworks, and then try to create something mine instead of just trying to copy what I saw, because that would be probably stealing. Yes, this is my take.
It's a fascinating approach, and it's definitely this conversation between what is inspiration and what is theft. It's such a fine line when it comes to creative work. And Elizabeth, specifically within the literary world, and I know you're working with books rather than with authors directly, but do you think in the community there is any sort of understanding of the importance of copyright and the importance of bookstagrammers actually protecting their original content, or is it not really very widespread, the knowledge, do you think?
People are starting to become definitely more aware than they used to be a while ago. In the Bookstagram world, the etiquette is that you shouldn't use and post content that's not yours. And if you do that, in case if it's about an art page or a reposting page, you ask for permission. And if you don't ask for permission, at least you credit them. You credit the person you took the art from. And people are becoming more aware about this etiquette. In my case, the worst thing that has happened was big art pages taking my content without crediting me. And this was bad because it can translate to possible business loss. If someone sees my art but they don't know who I am. So definitely protecting your content is something that content creators must be educated about.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you guys all have very different areas of expertise, as I mentioned at the start. But there seems to be a trend going through all of your responses to my questions that creativity really has something that flows throughout all of the work that you guys do. So before we end today, I'm just really keen to get one kind of key piece of advice that if you could go back 10 years to your younger self and give you some creative advice on how best to succeed in your careers as creative people, what would you say to yourself? I know it's a very tough question, and I'm going to put you on the spot first, Laura, and then we'll go to everybody else.
If I think about the first time I started, and the first years, my advice would have been like, never stop, continually working. Right now, I think that it's important to understand that if you want to be creative, you have to have moments when you do nothing, when you just disconnect, because creativity, it's not something that you can just like push and expect to be creative or just like that. You need time to just do nothing, disconnect completely from what you do, and just absorb the world around you. So a few years ago, I would have said like, never stop, continuously create. Now it's just stop and wait for it.
Yeah, I think those things probably come with experience as well. Now, the more you do these things, the better you get at taking a rest. Kristia, would you agree with that? And what would your top tip be, do you think, for our viewers?
I definitely agree with Laura, and this was also the advice that I was thinking of sharing, that it's about the contrast and the balance of doing and not doing. Another piece of advice for me would be not to be afraid to be inspired from completely random moments and objects and events and people and fields of art, because we sometimes think that inspiration comes from just one source, from looking, but maybe it could come from touching, from hearing, from sensing. So sometimes it's nice to restrict and just to think, oh, what am I hearing right now? Or what do I feel with my hands? So not to try and be open with all the senses and try to find inspiration, but instead to restrict myself to one vision or one feeling and try to find something within this one thing instead of trying to find it everywhere. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because obviously both your and Laura's responses have an air of mindfulness, and that's obviously something that's really important to maintain creativity as we move forward. And what about you, Elizabeth? Would you agree with Kristia and Laura, and what would your additions be?
My most important piece of advice would be to not let fear affect your creative brain, to be receptive to feedback, but at the end of the day, to create your art as if in a vacuum, as if it's only for yourself, because I think an artist creates art first and foremost for himself and then for the world. And so an artist shouldn't let the fear from the feedback of the world affect his or her creative brain.
Great advice. Considering I've put you guys on the spot, you all came up with some really, really good insights. So thank you so much. And I'm afraid that we are running out of time, but just before we go, I want to let everyone watching know that in the links below the video, we're going to put links to Kristia, Elizabeth and Laura's socials, so you can reach out to them and know a little bit more about them. We'll also put a link to our website where you can learn a bit more about how to protect your creativity and your creative ideas. But Elizabeth, Kristia, Laura, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing what all of you guys are going to be doing in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.